I'm calling this Back Bay Architectural Commission public hearing to order at 5:00 p.m. on September 10th, 2025. You may participate in this hearing by going to our Zoom meeting link in our agenda posted online at https://www.boston.gov/public notices/16408-066 or by calling 301-715-8592 and entering ID number 95804419256. You may also submit written comments or questions to backbayac@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the public meeting law, we are conducting this hearing online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Back Bay Architectural Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you may press *9 to raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which include landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the commission's purview.
Okay, I'll just do the roll call of commissioners. We have Kathy Connor, Tom
Yes.
Hyde, David Sampson, Andy Giampatera, Rob Weintraub, Susanna Gaspar, Tom B. Nayer, and Gina Dimitriadis. I think I got everyone. And we will be reviewing the August minutes at our October hearing. So I think, Kathy, we can move to the first agenda item.
Okay, are we going to the first project? Is that what you said? Or are we going to review the minutes, Joe? I'm sorry. Okay, the first project?
The first project, yes.
Okay, wonderful. So we have application 26.0028. That's 154 Newbury Street. Is there someone here for 154 Newbury Street, please?
Yes.
Wonderful. And is that you, Patrick, that just spoke up?
Yes, myself, Patrick, and then Luis from Rody Architects is also on the call.
Wonderful. And what we're going to do is we're going to have Joe read the staff notes, and then the floor will be yours.
Great.
Okay. Staff notes that 154 Newbury Street is one of 3 matching 3-story stone Romanesque revival style row houses converted to commercial use in the mid-20th century. Staff recommends approving the application with the proviso that the current paint color of the storefront remains as it is, consistent with the matching storefront at 156 Newbury Street. And I'll just show you some photos that I recently took. Here is number 154. Right here, this is a storefront that is being proposed to be repainted. And as you can see, it's it's a pair with this one at 156. And here are some more views. And then with that, you can just let me know when you'd like me to move forward, or you're welcome to share your screen if you'd like.
Absolutely. I will share my screen if that is okay.
Yep, I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, try. Okay, can you all see my screen here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have the submission that you have with the permit set of drawings that we submitted. So this is an existing photo. When we had the NAB committee meeting, we had talked about there are really, in looking at the building, there are 3 storefronts that sort of make up the entire row of buildings, 2 of which are very similar. And then there's this third one over to the right, the Copley Art Society, that has somewhat of a different appearance. So our original proposed, and Luis from Rody is on. Luis, you can feel free to chime in from the architectural point of view, but I will just sort of walk through. So the original proposed was to paint this Faro and Ball shadow white color to match with the the clothing company's brand or the retailer's brand. The feedback that we had got from Joe and from the NAB committee was the concern about the breakup of symmetry if we painted this storefront white and what that would do to the look of the building. What we have done is they also had asked that we sort of show a rendering of what our proposed color was with the 3 storefronts side by side to see what that would look like. So we do have that prepared just to show you. So this is the proposed color that we originally submitted, the shadow white. We had also went back to our client. One piece of feedback was if we would choose a darker color that matches a little bit better with this right-hand storefront, the protruding structure here for Copley Art Society. So I also have that to show. So this would be the proposed color in a Faro and Ball drop cloth. And then this is the rendering of what it looks like with the 3 storefronts. Luis, would you like to, I think, see your hand raised. Would you like to chime in here?
Yeah, so we would just like to bring up that the building already has a little bit of asymmetry with that right pediment on the right side for the art society. So I think that allowing the gray color on our storefront would kind of balance that asymmetry that already exists.
And this is one more view of it side by side with the adjacent storefront.
Also, that is the only modification that will be done to the exterior. Everything else will remain exactly the same. It's just the color.
And I think just to add to that, Luis, I think just for the modification would just be the paint color, but we did get approval for the signage on the exterior of the building. It was just the paint color. So there will be some exterior applied sign unilluminated, which Joe, when you reviewed, you did not have an issue with that. It was just the paint color that came up. So this,
the sign hasn't been approved because it's part of this application, but
I'm sorry, but
I recommend
conditionally,
approving it.
yes.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry.
Can I give you a reaction to this?
Yes.
We look at changes in paint color in the commercial district on sort of a case-by-case basis, and it really is a question of the context, the building. We've approved changes in color to white in a number of areas. We also have not approved them in a number of areas. We looked at one a couple months ago in the stable block and felt that it was not appropriate there. I really think, even with your toning it down to gray, that Joe is right. And it's the pair of buildings. You're absolutely right that there are 3 companion buildings, but the symmetry is created between 154 and 156. There's also the impact on the architecture of the 2 buildings to the east. And those buildings are quite important architecturally. It's the former Boston Art Club building designed by Emerson and the Boston Bicycle Club designed by Meacham. They're now both, I think, part of the Snowden School. And again, anything that is as light as even this gray, I think, creates an imbalance for that part of the streetscape. So I'm quite convinced by the feeling that we need to keep it the same color as the bay at 156. And I might mention that this anodized bronze surface was approved by the commission, I think, in 2009. And then the commission at that point made a point of commenting on how these were compatible buildings and that the bays needed to be compatible with each other.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that background, Tom, I completely agree with you. I think those two bays being closer to each other actually, create a symmetry that is not really including the very unfortunate pediment addition on the north side. So I completely agree that keeping those two as much as alike as possible is desired.
I mirrored Tom and Susanna. Well said.
Yeah, it interrupts the symmetry of the two remaining bays for sure. So I'm in agreement as well. I do have a question as far as the signage band. I know, Joe, you mentioned something about that. Is that an area where they might be able to do something that is on brand? Color-wise?
Yeah, Patrick, I don't know if you've looked into that.
Luis, have you had those, because that did come up actually opposite of that on the NAB hearing. They wanted to keep the signage band the same color, but had said possibly do the verticals in the painted, which I don't think from our client's point of view, they were wanted to go that route. But Luis, do you think that a treatment with the band would be something that?
Yeah,
Could
I
be.
did discuss that with the client and they disagree. It goes against their brand identity. And they were hoping that they would be able to include it over the whole facade.
And Luis, I'm sorry, could we have your last name? I didn't catch it.
Araque, Araque.
Thank you.
And
So if you-
Louise,
And
just
this
if I
gives
can, Louise, if
this
I can
gives a
say
better-
something, we try to, certainly we try to honor branding. We think that is very important, but the architecture trumps that in so many ways. And perhaps there's another way you could express your brand within the window to really let clients understand who you are without disrupting the actual symmetry in the building.
Yeah, you mean in the interior so that it is exposed through the windows?
It's an opportunity. I'm just trying to think. I understand the importance of branding, and I hope you understand the importance of certainly maintaining the integrity of the architecture as well. So maybe there's a compromise that you can have there.
Correct. Yeah, they do have a very minimalist aesthetic. So their window display is literally just a mannequin in front of it. So the whole composition of the light facade and the mannequin would go with their worldwide brand that they've tried to establish in the new stores that they're opening throughout the US.
Understood. Thank you.
With respect to the sign, there may be some things that you can do with a sign band, and I think that would be something that in acting on this, we could ask you to work with Joe and have Joe approve. It could be that there's a way to do just portions of the sign band in a lighter color, but not the entire bay. But it's the impact of the entire bay that's really of concern. That inset, for example, the inset area behind Varley, if that were white, at least it would give a sense of, yeah, exactly, a sense of your corporate colors. I have to say, I understand completely the branding issue. If T-Mobile came in, their brand is a bright magenta, and I don't think we would approve that either. As Kathy says, the architecture really does need to prevail. I'm ready to make a motion when the time comes.
I see. I just have another question. In terms of the opportunity to do just the band, would it include the styles and the vertical elements of the band, or would it just be the inset where the signage is?
I would think the inset myself, but yeah, I think.
Tom, are you saying on the inset, have that white background with the black letters?
Yeah, that was what, and all the rest be the original colors, but
Stays
just
the
that one.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Because now the symmetry stays.
Well, I think it would be nice to see it because I think those
Yeah.
verticals are actually really much thinner than what this rendering appears to show. So I'm just worried about, how much that band, if the whole thing, I understand only the insets
Right.
are painted, how much of that just essentially disintegrates this bay. Hate to be the one to.
Yeah, that's a good point, Susanna. Yeah.
This just gives a better picture of what is actually there.
Could you do white letters instead of black letters, and then you wouldn't have to change any of the colors?
That would be something we would have to discuss with the client, but yeah. What about on the upper floor? Is there opportunity to paint the upper corners of that bay?
No.
No.
Not in my view.
Well, Tom, I have a feeling your motion is going to be denial without prejudice, but if we can get the client to agree to keep the color or maintain the color symmetry between 154 and 156, and then leave the sign details up to Joe.
That latter is exactly what I was going to suggest, as Joe had, that it be approved. But with the proviso that the color of the bay remain the same, consistent with the bay at 156, and that the design of the final color and the design of the signage
Right.
be approved by staff.
So Patrick and
So you wouldn't have to come back. In other words, this is not
Right.
to the whole commission. Just you would work with Joe on the signage.
so that, I guess do they have to check with their client first, or is it something that you guys can?
We can definitely work directly with Joe to achieve a decision.
Okay.
Great.
Fine.
And Patrick, I think you do have some work at the back, don't you? A sign at the back.
Yes, we do. And this was something that came up, and unfortunately, I do not have a rendering of this, came up from the NAB meeting. So we have one small sign at the back that is going next to the door. We were proposing to paint this back door the same color as the proposed storefront. The request that we had from the NAB meeting was to leave the color of the door existing, which, Luis, I don't think we have an issue with that, correct?
Yeah, we can leave it existing.
We were going to try to paint it the same color as the storefront, but if we're not painting the storefront,
Right.
we would leave this the existing.
is,
I believe it's the
existing.
black. But there is this exterior sign here.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Terrific. So shall we go to the public
Sure,
comments?
Patrick, if you could stop sharing your screen. I just have to show mine.
Yep. Should be all set.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Okay. Kathy, you should be able to see the script.
Thanks, Joe. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you may press *9 to raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which includes landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside the commission's purview. And do we have any public comment? I don't see any.
Any hands raised? No.
Well, there we go. And yet nothing in email either. So we should go back to the motion.
All right.
All right, Tom.
I move that this be approved, the project be approved with the proviso that the proposal to change the color of the storefront is denied, and the color of the storefront is to remain consistent with the matching storefront at 156 Newbury, with the final color and design of the signage to be approved by staff.
Thank you.
Who was the second? Was that David?
Rob.
Rob. Okay. All right. So Kathy Connor,
Yes.
Tom High,
Yes.
David Sampson,
Yes.
Andy Champatera,
Yes.
Rob Weintraub,
Yes.
Susanna Gaspar,
Yes.
Tomby Nayer,
Yes.
and Gina Dimitriadis.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to project number 2. It's application 26.0097. That's 167 Marlborough Street. Is there someone here for 167 Marlborough Street, please?
Yes, I'm here, Simon Sinnott, project
Thank
manager.
you, Simon. And Simon, we'll give the floor back to you in just a moment. Joe's going to read his staff notes.
Staff notes that 167 Marlborough Street was constructed in 1878 as a 3-story brick row house. The house was expanded in 1929 when its original mansard roof was replaced with a full story. In 1980, the existing mansard roof was erected at the 4th story, and the existing rooftop solarium was erected at that time. Staff recommends approval, finding that while this project is not consistent with the design guidelines for the residential area of the district, it is replacing an existing non-historic structure that is only minimally visible from the ground. Furthermore, the change to a darker color will be an improvement from the current white structure. And I will just show you some images. Here is 167 Marlborough Street here. And they are doing some masonry work, but the location of the solarium is here in the side piece. You can kind of get a glimpse of it through the scrim up here. And then you probably will also see a little bit of it from the alley. So I can stop sharing, Simon, if you want to try to share your screen.
I can try. I know at the last meeting I had difficulties because I'm not
Okay.
too good on this Zoom. So I know on the last meeting, one of your colleagues helped share the screen for me from your side. Because to be very honest, I'm not able to do it.
Okay. All right, let me just find your presentation here then. Okay. All right. I should have it. All right, can you see that?
Yes, thank you, Joseph.
Yep. Just oops, try to make it bigger for you to see. You know what? I'm not able to. So we'll just have to. Oops. Just. Go back here. All right, can you see that now? The front of the building?
No.
No, we can't. Not
No,
yet, Joe.
okay.
You see you.
Full screen.
Sorry. All right, how's that?
There it
Yes.
is.
Yes, good job.
All right, just let me know when you want me to move forward. Can you see it, Simon?
Yes, I can see everything. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, go ahead. Just let me know when you want me to move forward through the presentation.
Okay, I can. The project description is, as Joe just described, is to remove and replace an old existing glass solarium structure that was installed in 1980. That's the records we could find from the city anyway. The unit's on the top floor. It's the 4th floor of 167 Marlborough Street. The glass structure is on the right-hand side of the building, the midway point, the side recessed into the structure, set back 6 feet. It's not visible from the street level. From the front of the building, in the Marlborough Street area, it has minimal visibility. From the rear of the building, it is set back where the public way runs. It has minimal visibility also. The owners have been affected with multiple water leaks that have led to extensive, as you can see from the pictures, extensive damage to the entire building throughout the years. They've tried multiple times to replace it, and it's just been very costly to them. The glass unit is white, as you can see right now, aluminum, and it looks terribly out of place in the neighborhood, and it needs to be replaced. It will be replaced with a like-for-like structure. There's going to be no changes in the size, heights, or dimensions. The original elements of the building will not be changed in any way. The original slates, bricks, railings will all stay as is. And the new glass unit will have a black flat exterior finish to meet the Commission's guidelines. I also have on the call is John from Sunspace Design, who is with the company that's going to has manufactured the unit and will be doing the installation. So if you have any questions about the glazing or any of the elements of that, you can ask him.
Am I correct? You're saying that everything that isn't glass will be black?
Yes.
Fine.
And Joe, did you say that this was approved back in 1980?
Yes, yep.
Okay, so it's a like-kind replacement except for swapping out the white for the black?
Yeah.
Yep,
All right.
yep.
Yeah,
Even better
and,
than what was
you know,
there.
and, you know, in theory, we could, because the guidelines provide for this, since this was approved before the guidelines, we could ask for additional changes, but I think Joe is right that in this case, changing it to black makes it less visible, and it's already minimally visible. And so it makes sense to approve it with that color.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay. I will just go back to the script.
Okay, we can go to public hearing.
Let me just find it here. Okay. All right, Kathy, can you see that?
I can, thanks, Joe. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on the project's exterior architectural features, which include landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the Commission's purview. I don't see any hands. Do you, Joe?
Oh, yeah, Lori.
Oh, and now you, Lori. Okay. Lori, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of the NAB Architecture Committee tonight. We saw this project and thought that it is as good as it can possibly be, and the use of the flat black paint is going to be an enormous improvement. So we completely support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
All
I
right,
don't see anyone else. Do you, Joe?
Not seeing any others.
All right, then let's go back to the motion.
My motion is for approval as presented.
Second.
Okay, that was Genia. And Kathy Connor.
Yes.
Tom High.
Yes.
David Sampson.
Yes.
Andy Champatera.
Yes.
Rob Weintraub.
Yes.
Susanna Gaspar.
Yes.
Tom B. Nayer.
Yes.
And Genia Dimitriadis.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. So we can move now to our next application.
Wonderful. So we're heading on to project number 3, application 26.0161. It's 269 Commonwealth Avenue. Is there someone here for 269 Commonwealth Avenue, please?
Yes, Ron Payne from Payne Collins Design is here.
Great. Hi, Ron. How are you?
Hi, good, thank you.
Good, good, good. We're going to, you know the drill. We're going to give it back to Joe for staff comments, and then we'll send it back to you.
Okay. Staff notes that 269 Commonwealth Avenue is a 4-story brick row house constructed in 1881 to 1882 and designed by Allen and Kenway Architects. Staff recommends approval with provisos, finding that the proposed rooftop, penthouse, deck, and mechanical equipment will not be visible from Commonwealth Avenue Mall or the rear alley. The proposed fence should be mounted into the curb, as is typical for fences in the district. Now, I've kind of rethought that, so I'll just show you some images here. And this is an 1880s view soon after the house was constructed, and you can see there was no fence, but it does have a very ornamental curb, and that curb exists today, and it would be really unfortunate to alter that curb at all. And then here is how it looks today. You have this very significant stone curb. It seems as though that this property never had a fence, so that might be something for you to consider. And then I'll just show you, here are some images that I took that show that you cannot see anything of a mock-up from the Commonwealth Avenue Mall or from the rear alley. All right, so Ron, I'm happy to go through your presentation. Is there anyone else you'd like me to unmute?
No,
Nope.
just thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Good evening. So this property is currently a 5-unit apartment building, which will be gut rehabbed into 2 large triplex condominiums. The addition and the height are below the allowed FAR, and the front and the rear facades are actually in excellent condition, and there's no work to do there. As Joe mentioned, some of the maintenance includes replacing the roof, the copper gutters and downspouts, and the windows, which will be replaced in kind with wood matching windows. Some of the improvements include front yard improvements, which I'll get into, rear yard improvements, and the rooftop addition, which is sunken with sunken decks. So this first sheet does show the proposed front garden fence, which, as Joe mentioned, we very deliberately decided to locate the fence just to the backside of the front curb. So it's just right up against it. And that is to let the curb itself continue to breathe and not be altered for a fence. The property, we think, needs a fence just to sort of give it some significance and just to sort of protect the garden from pets and various other things. The penthouse addition is not visible because this particular property, the slope of the roof from front to rear is significant, and the penthouse addition is so far back that this view, which is the straight-on bird's eye view, which you generally see the whole addition, but in this case you just see the bit of the top. So that's a welcome surprise. That bottom left photo shows the front yard, which has a bronze pipe railing, which we would like to replace sort of in kind, except with all black, other than the actual top rail, which we'll get into in another drawing, which we were thinking of doing in brass. But the base and the support of the railing would still be all black. And then what you see is the concrete entryway, which we'd like to do in brickwork. So the next sheet is of the rear, Joe, which shows, again, that we're not changing anything in terms of the window fenestration. I'll just move from ground up. Okay. So all the exterior doors and windows will be replaced in kind. Currently there's a deck on the first and the second floors, which has posts, which we'd like to replace with sort of cantilevered brackets to sort of free up the courtyard and replace what I personally consider that hideous deck railing with the circles and the squares. So we'd like to replace the railing with something a little bit more interesting, but still very, very simple. The fire escapes on 3 and 4 need to stay for the adjacent property. We did sort of straighten out some of the French doors. Currently on the first floor rear, there's actually a slider, and the second floor is a slider. So we want to do traditional wooden painted black French doors with similarly sized transoms above to sort of give it some verticality and some order. The second floor has a little Juliet / fire escape balcony, which we want to remove and sort of return that window to a 1/1 configuration. So we're sort of straightening that out as well. We will again replace the roof of the bay and the downspouts with copper. And then you see, what's interesting about this photo is the left drawing shows the roof line in the front of the building. And you can see that the addition on the right drawing, it's only about a foot or so above that. So we're really sort of not changing much of the back.
Before you leave the back, can I ask a couple questions?
Please do, Tom.
By the way, thank you for bringing this project. It looks very good. I just had a couple of problems or issues. The first one is how deep are the decks?
Currently, they are 6 feet deep, and we were keeping them at that same depth.
We've when we've reviewed other decks like this, for example, at 181 Commonwealth, we have asked that the decks be reduced so that they are, and in that case, we've had a proviso of 4 feet 6 inches. But I think the real principle is not to have the deck extend further than the bays that it would be competing with. There's no bay on the back of this building, but there is one on the back of 267, and that would probably reduce it by maybe a foot at the most, which I think would be consistent with what we've applied in other cases, and still give you a nice large space there.
Can we compromise at, say, 4'10"?
Sure.
I'm sorry, 5'10". Excuse me.
Well, no, not 5'10". 4'10".
Maybe.
No, I think the issue, Ron, I don't know. Yeah, we could do what we did at 181 and put in a specific measurement, or simply say the deck should be come out no further than the front face or the rear face of the bay at 267, which I think is probably around 5 feet, but I'm sort of guessing on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's up to the commission. We'd like to try to keep them as close to 6 feet as possible, just so they're a little bit more practical, and they are existing in that depth.
Well, that was also the case, I believe, at 181. So
could be.
Yeah, and I don't think I had any other questions on the back. So.
Okay, fair enough. So the next sheet, Joe, shows the front and rear yard improvements. Starting at the top left, you see the brickwork, which will just be running bond brick, and the some boxwood hedging, the existing tree to remain, and that new garden fence just behind the curb for that particular reason of this particular condition, because of that corner sort of sculptural curb piece. The brass pieces you see there are, again, what would be sitting on top of an all-black railing frame and posts. The fence itself is something that we've done that's similar. It's just sort of a very simple 42-inch high black iron fence with a gate on the side leading to the garden. The rear yard improvements, again, this is sort of unusual property because we have a full-story building to the left at 267, which goes all the way to the sidewalk, and a garden wall to the west, which is just about 6 foot tall. So the parking area is sort of enclosed between these walls, and then we are replacing what is currently a garden wall, same height, other than we're going to introduce some brickwork and some ironwork to keep it a little bit lighter looking, to bring in some natural light to the courtyard. So like in the case of these particular rear decks, they're really far back from the property, and they're sort of between these walls, just to keep that in mind. The drawings on the bottom left there should sort of show what the elevations of the garden wall will look like. So that number 3 drawing shows the brick wall with the ironwork in the center. There'll be a large tree planted behind it, and then sort of an iron gate and fencing leading to the rear door. The other drawings are just snippets of the sort of east and north and south walls.
Ron, did you give any thought to the comments which I saw in Nab's letter, which I agree with, that for this house, I have no problem with there being the railing. I have no problem with it being set behind the curb. In fact, I think preserving the curb is a good idea. Mm-hmm. I probably, if I were making the decision unilaterally, I would say, don't do a fence, keep that nice curb. But if you're going to do a fence, yeah, I know. If you're going to do a fence, this is overstated for this particular house. It needs to be simpler.
Okay.
This looks like a what you would put in front of one of the limestone houses, and another 20 years later.
Okay.
Did you give any thought to some alternatives?
We can certainly simplify it. No, we haven't really given it any
Yeah.
thought. We can remove the corner posts. We can remove the top sort
The
of
brass, yeah.
Well, there was no brass in this fence.
Yeah, what the, or the
Well,
shine.
that's the handrail.
Oh, that's a handrail, okay.
Leading up to the front door.
Okay,
Only.
yeah.
But if the commission feels strongly that it's a little too ornate, we can certainly simplify it considerably, and Joe and I can sort of work on that.
Yeah, you might take a look at the fence down the street at 21 Fairfield, which
Okay.
that it may not be possible to replicate because it is, I think, either an original fence or at least an old one, but it has a nice, it seems to fit more with the design of this brick building rather than what you've got here.
Okay. That makes sense. We're happy to do that. I'll look at 21 Fairfield Street for a concept.
And my only other question was on your replacement windows. I'm looking at the 1885 and the 1940 photos of the building. The two central painted panes in the bay were originally 1/1s. And it's currently one solid, and I'm wondering, was that intentional, or would 1/1 bring it back to more the original style?
Absolutely, Tom. We're happy to go back to 1/1s. We thought replacing in kind was the way to go, but if 1/1 is preferred and more original, then 100% we will do that.
Yeah. But you don't put back those awnings.
No. So yeah, so those two windows, I think they're I can't see the numbers, but those two will become 1/1s in the center. Yes. So we'll simplify the garden fence. We'll change those to two double hung windows, 1/1s. And let's see. So the next sheet, Joe, is showing what the penthouse addition looks like. So it'll be copper clad front and rear facades with the black French doors, copper cornice around the frame and cornice around the French doors, copper clad elevator override. The AC equipment is again sunken and not visible. We did mock all that up. The entire addition is built up against the west party wall of 167. So that bottom section drawing there shows our entire addition is right up against that wall. So we're duplicating the addition at 167 in terms of the setbacks. Any questions about that sheet? No? So the next sheet, Joe, is the roof plan. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. We have the two little sunken front and rear decks, the addition itself, the location of the AC equipment, the location of the elevator override. Okay, the next sheet, Joe, shows the building section where everything is clear, the two cantilever decks in the rear, the penthouse addition on top, and the front garden fence, which again will simplify. The next sheet is the sightline diagram, which again, none of it is visible. I'm happy to report from anywhere. And the next couple of sheets are just the existing condition, roof plan, and some of the construction details. So that's essentially the presentation. Happy to answer questions.
I've been speaking up and I will be quiet now, but I am ready to make a motion when the time comes.
I just would ask about the detail on your section. I saw that you have a sort of a curved bracket to hold up the fire escape / balcony.
Correct.
The balcony. Would you need that still if we went back to the 5 foot or 4 foot stand, whatever dimension?
Yes, they would still be cantilever with those brackets. Those sort of half rounded curved brackets. They're quite elegant. Yeah. Because it is fully cantilevered. So.
Okay. And is that something that actually happens in this and adjacent buildings?
It does happen throughout the district, yes. There are a number of examples of this.
I think, Susanna, the other thing is that it's replacing some really unfortunate poles that support the decks now. So it's step in the right direction.
Okay, that's fair, right.
I would just maybe put in a little plug for keeping them at the size they are, because it is an improvement and we wouldn't want to see the current poles stay where they are.
No, absolutely.
So
No, that would be cantilevered.
Okay. Anything else?
Tom,
Okay.
you have a motion?
Yeah.
I'm ready to make a
And-
motion. Yeah.
Wonderful. So we'll move on to the public comment then. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you may press *9 to raise your hand, or you may send your questions to staff via email at backbayac@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on a project's exterior architectural features, which include landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the of the commission's purview. And Lori, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, hi. Speaking on behalf of NAB, since Serge is at our annual meeting right now, I think you've covered all of our thoughts about this, but I wanted to add one thing about the fence, which is, to us, I'm not sure we felt that the fence needed to be simple to the point of boring. It's just that this particular fence seemed like it was kind of the wrong style for this building. And if you look at the fence on Fairfield that Tom suggested, it's got a very ornamental, regular design, and it's a little lower. And I think that I agree that that would be a really nice inspiration for a fence for this building. And now I'm going to put my garden club hat on and talk a little bit about the landscaping. If you plant 100 tulips in the front garden, the rabbits are going to eat them. So
Let's feed them.
okay,
Is that a problem?
I personally feel that way myself, but you
Yeah.
might want to consider hyacinths
No,
instead.
let's feed them.
Okay, usually the motion is that, we'll work with you later on a garden design, but this one is really quite perfect if you use a blight-free boxwood and you have a good sized tree pit for your beautiful white redbud. So the garden club would completely approve of this design, especially since you're adding irrigation, and I think it's going to be a very beautiful project altogether. So thank you.
Thank you. Agreed.
okay, I'm not seeing any others. Oh, Sue.
Oh, Sue.
Sue Brindle.
Yes, I think I'm unmuted. Am I? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would just like to put in a plug for reducing the size of the decks as far as possible. You'll get more light into the building, which I think would be a nice thing. And it's just the balance, I think, will work better. 6 feet is a big deck. And I don't know that we have many like that, possibly on the riverside, but not in the interior. So I would think about that hard and bring it back as much as you can. I think Tom's idea of aligning it with the bay next door is probably a good benchmark. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. All righty, shall we go back to the motion?
I move that the project be approved with the provisos that, number one, the windows in the center of the bay at the second floor will be 1/1 design to match the other windows and the original design. 2, that the outer edge of the rear decks will extend no further than the face of the bay at 267 Commonwealth, to be confirmed by staff. And 3, that the front garden railing will be designed. The design of the front railing will be simplified with alternative examples being, with alternatives based upon the design of 21 Fairfield and similar fences with the final design to be approved by staff.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All right. Kathy Connor,
Yes.
Tom High,
Yes.
David Sampson,
Yes.
Andy Giampatera,
Yes.
Rob Weintraub,
Yes.
Susanna Gaspar,
Yes.
Tom B. Nair. Tom B., you still here? How about Gina Dimitriadis?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Rob.
Thank you.
Very much. That's it for the applications. Shall we move on to the administrative review?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, sorry. No.
Okay.
Sorry
Kathy
about that.
Connor,
Yes.
Tom High,
Yes.
David Sampson,
Yes.
Andy Giampatera,
Yes.
Rob Weintraub,
Yes.
Susanna Gaspar.
Abstain.
Okay. Tom B. Nair. Tom B., you there? Gina Dimitriadis.
Yes.
Okay. And staff updates. I mean, we continue to be pretty quiet with projects, although we seem to be getting a lot of calls of people wanting to meet and talk about preliminary ideas for projects. So maybe in the coming months, we'll be bringing you some longer hearings so you don't get bored. So but, we'll keep you posted. Thank you.
Great. And Joe, as far as the administrative reviews, is that what we're going to be doing next?
Oh, we did those.
Oh, we did. Oh, gosh.
Yep.
Where
Yeah,
was
the
I?
minutes. We're gonna do the minutes next month.
Okay. Okay, great.
August.
Thank you very
We'll have
much.
August and September next month.
All right. Fabulous. Thank you very much. I'm looking at my notes here and I thank you for that. And thank you, Gina, for keeping me on track there as well. Anything else? It's just time to adjourn, isn't it, at this point?
It is. A second.
Well, does anybody want to? I was going to say, great, make a motion. Thanks.
So I think David made the motion. Does someone want to second it?
Motion.
I think that was Rob.
Second.
Or Gina. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank
All right.
you all. We appreciate
Aye.
everybody helping out. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Great.
Okay. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
You all take care
Bye-bye.
too. Thank you. Bye-bye.